The 17 Most Badass American Muscle Cars of the 60s and 70s, Part 3. 13. 1969 Ford Mustang Boss 429. NASCAR was at its peak in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Because stock car racing was a serious business, automakers would design engines and bodywork for racing that were frequently too extreme for the street. The manufacturers just had to sell 500 of these avant-garde vehicles in order to enter them into the NASCAR series. What a beast the Boss 429 Mustang was. Although the Mustang didn't race in NASCAR, the 429C, 375 HP V8 under its hood was meant to race and was capable of revving to 6,000 revolutions per minute. This motor's poor street performance was the issue at the time. It was slower than the other big block Mustangs. The NASCAR-bound V8 was enormous and could not be installed in a stock Mustang's engine compartment. In order to complete the project, Ford hired Car-Craft in Brighton, Michigan. To make place for this monstrous power plant to fit in the Mustang, the manufacturer moved the shock towers, widened the front end's track using special components, moved the batteries to the trunk, and installed a smaller brake booster. Today, the Boss 429 commands auction prices well above $200,000 because to its rarity and allure. Fast fact: between 1969 and 1970, the Boss 429 really had 3 separate 429 engines installed. Early automobiles had the extreme S code fitted, which was loaded with components intended for racing. However, the S code experienced warranty issues, allegedly as a result of an improper assembly procedure. Therefore, some cars employed the T code with lighter-duty components. Near the conclusion of manufacture, the later A code 429 model with smog equipment and a new valve train became available. 14. 1970 Chevy Chevelle LS6. GM's decision to abandon its long-standing policy against the installation of engines greater than 400C in midsize cars sparked a muscle frenzy among the company's divisions. According to a conservative estimate, the LS6 has 450 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. However, many experts assert that the LS6's actual output in the Chevelle SS was closer to 500 horsepower due to its high 11.25:1 compression ratio and massive Holley 780 CFM carb. In a 1970 test, our friends at Car and Driver discovered that it reached 60 miles per hour in just 5.4 seconds and completed the quarter mile in 13.8 seconds. And they were the era's thin, low-grip tires. If the identical car had today's rubber, it would go considerably more quickly. Of all muscle vehicles, the LS6 has the greatest factory horsepower rating. Fast fact: Chevrolet's premier performance vehicle has always been the Corvette. And prior to the LS6, GM forbade any other Chevy from using an engine with a horsepower rating higher than the Corvette. But for 1970, that attitude seemed to have been loosened. The most powerful engine you could have in a Corvette was a 390 HP LS 5454. There was an LS7 with 465 horsepower designed, but it was never marketed. So why is there no LS6? For 1971, an LS6 Corvette was available, but its power dropped to 425 horsepower, at least officially. 15. 1969 Pontiac GTO Judge. In the early 1960s, Pontiac dominated the muscle car industry. In fact, many people believe that the 1964 Pontiac GTO was the first of its kind. However, such car had a lot of competition by 1968. The ET, for elapsed time, a drag racing phrase, was conceived by Pontiac as a less expensive GTO with a smaller 350C engine. John DeLorean, the head of Pontiac, didn't like the notion. No GTO could, in his opinion, have an engine that little. Instead, the team created a vehicle that was superior to the standard GTO. DeLorean gave the automobile the moniker in honor of a well-known joke from Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. The Judge came standard with a 360 HP Ram Air 3 engine, but customers also had the option of the more powerful 370 HP Ram Air IV. The GTO Judge Ram Air IV convertibles were the rarest of all. Only 5 were made in 1969. Fast fact: on a dry lake bed, the rock group Paul Revere and the Raiders sang about the GTO in the Judge's initial TV commercial. According to Jim Wanger's and Art Fitzpatrick's book Pontiac Pizzazz, the band's main singer, Mark Lindsay, was a fan of Cars and the Judge, so he created a song about it. This advertisement, according to Wanger's, is regarded as one of the earliest rock music videos. 16. 1969 Capo Camaro. For fleet sales, Chevrolet created the Central Office Production Order (CAPO) system, which was meant to specify heavy-duty suspensions for police cars and stain-resistant interiors for taxis. However, forward-thinking dealers with the correct contacts, like Yenko Chevrolet in Pennsylvania, discovered that Camaros could also be ordered in this manner. The dealer might also specify a fire-breathing monster of a Camaro that Chevy didn't really want you to buy if you provided the correct order codes. A 427 big block V8 with a 425 horsepower rating was specified in production order 9561, just like in a Corvette. However, the much more uncommon Capo 9560 required an all-aluminum ZL1 427 V8. It was well known that this race-spec engine actually produced more like 550 horsepower even though it was only rated with 5 additional horsepower. Only 69 Zlotys-1 Camaros were produced, and these vehicles fetch auction prices in the $400,000 area. Fast fact: the 9560 Capo Camaro's aluminum ZL1 427 V8 is virtually a race engine. This 427 motor was initially created by Chevy for the Chaparral racing team to utilize in the Can-Am Championship. There are simply standard Camaro badges on a ZL1 Camaro, no external symbols that reveal what's within. 17. 1987 Buick GNX. In the 1980s, Buick revived some of the enchantment of the big block V8-powered muscle vehicles of the 1960s and 1970s. The Buick GNX had a powerful, turbocharged V6 and was based on the Grand National, which is a hot rod version of the Regal Coupe. The Grand National's horsepower increased from 245 to 276 with the GNX package. One was evaluated by Car and Driver in 1987, with a 0 to 60 mph timing of just 4.6 seconds, making it among the fastest vehicles available. Only 547 of these dark animals were produced by Buick. Many of them were stored away as investments. Fast fact: when Buick stopped making the GNX, there were quite a few of these engines left over. Pontiac purchased the turbo V6s and installed them in the 1989 20th anniversary Trans Am. Although conservatively rated at only 250 horsepower, true GM enthusiasts were aware of the Trans Am's potential. Want more information like this? Let us know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, comment if you learned something new.